Hello, my name is Kamra Clemons and welcome to Afrolis Videocast, the place where we listen to Black and racialized women from all over the world. We are based in Lisbon, but we seek to bridge our experiences and inspire one another to keep moving forward. My guests from today are Kamra Clemons, welcome, and Heather Proctor from the Black in Portugal movement initiative. This would be the first question to make. Yes. So what is Black in Portugal and why did you decide to create it here?
Yeah, Black in Portugal is a community-based organization that Heather and I came together to create. It started with a Facebook group of people wanting to move to Portugal. And then I saw Heather on the group who was hosting events, and I'll let her speak a little bit about her experience. And I saw it as an opportunity for us to connect the online community with the community that was actually here in Portugal.
Okay, but these are all people from the US or people that wanted to move to Portugal, this Facebook group?
It was mostly people from the US, but we do have people that are from Nigeria or the UK, other countries wanting to immigrate to Portugal.
Great.
Yeah, so kind of what Cam said, when I was finding out I was moving to Portugal, I was in the same Facebook group Cam was in, and it was very small at the time, and I noticed that nothing was really happening as far as get-togethers or events. So when I first arrived, a week after I arrived, I hosted my first event, and that's where I met Cam. Mm-hmm. And then I just started having events, and then more people started coming out and building, this community and connecting people. And then finally, towards the end of 2021, Cam said, "Hey, Heather, I'm building community. I want more community so other people can thrive. You're doing a great job at what you're doing. Why don't we join forces and brand Black in Portugal?" And that's where we're at today, 2023.
Yes.
Great, sounds great. But what are the main values of Black in Portugal?
I would say the main values are community, culture, and connection. It's really important for us to foster community in Portugal, as there's already people living here, and then there's people that are coming here and starting from scratch, and they're looking for friendship or they're looking to have a family abroad. So it's helping to bridge those communities together, as well as culture. Mm-hmm. We want to obviously learn more about the culture here, as well as the Lisbon country culture. Yes. And make sure that we're immersing ourselves as much as possible.
Okay. But what are some of the activities that you do in order to build this community, to have more contact with also the other Black Lusophone people mm-hmm. here? What are some of the activities that you've made, or mm-hmm. are planning on creating?
So we have done a little bit of different types of things. One of the smaller things that we have done was definitely connect our community with other communities that are having different events. I know Cova da Moura has events out there. There are 2 Kizomba dancers that do events and have educational services. As far as any type of peaceful protesting and understanding what's happening within the African diaspora here, we have, shared and connected our community. As far as actual events, we are currently working on a culture event coming up in mm-hmm. May and in June, where we're bringing different people in the community that offer educational resources or educational anything around the culture, and bringing it into our community so expats can learn a little bit more about, Angolan culture or Cape Verdean culture or any other former Portuguese colonies. We do think it's important while we're here, not just to learn about the Portuguese history, but definitely learn more about the African diaspora that's here. And as far as upcoming, we hope to, do more for the local communities that are here and really, get more people to be more aware that there is a history, within the African diaspora in Portugal that at least I didn't know about for the most part.
Yes, that's what I wanted to ask you when you came here, because sometimes
I didn't know.
People just, when they arrive here, and sometimes mm-hmm. other Black people as well, they just say, I didn't know that in Lisbon, there were so many African people living, and you could see so many mm-hmm. African people walking around.
Mm-hmm. And that's a question that we always get, how diverse is Portugal? How diverse is Lisbon? And I always remember, I came here in 2010, and I don't remember seeing any Black people, anyone,
Where were you? You came to Lisbon?
In Lisbon. I actually specifically remember the Hard Rock Cafe. So I was on that street at Avenida Liberdade.
Oh, yeah. There's
right there.
Less Black people there.
And the marina, too. And I don't remember anyone. When I came here, I was like, wow. I've known about the transatlantic slave trade, but as far as everything else that came with it from the Portuguese side, I had no idea. So, really connecting, talking, understanding, their viewpoints of, the locals, the Black locals that are here really has opened my eyes. And many other stories are very similar to what we experience in the U.S. as well.
Of course, no, but I just wanted to mention this, because when you said that you didn't see many Black people around, it's areas as well. Sometimes I think in the U.S. it also happens. No? Some neighborhoods, some places that mostly white people go to, where you don't see that many people. But of course, now you've been here for many years.
They're everywhere.
So I love it. Once we see them, or we see each other, then we start seeing more and more and connecting more. So it's interesting that you've even been into Cova da Moura.
Yes.
Which even for some Portuguese people is not a place that they want to go.
Yes, I've been, people like cab drivers, have expressed how dangerous it is. I have taken cabs there. I have taken the train there. And for me, it just reminds me of back home. It's just a city neighborhood. For me, it's not dangerous. I don't find it to be dangerous. Of course, you have to be smart about things no matter where you're at in the world.
Of course.
But it's so much going on there. What Vitor is doing for the community, he has a library there. They host like a block party. I feel like always, every other weekend, there's a block party there of some sort.
Vitor Sanchez from Basolfo.
Yes, from Basolfo, yes. He's also amazing what he's doing for the community and what he's fighting for. So definitely, you won't know unless you go out there and see, they're just normal people.
Yeah.
And, they're very, very, very friendly as well. So don't believe people saying it's super dangerous, it's...
Yeah, sometimes it's also sometimes it's also a question of economic disadvantage.
Yeah.
So people live in certain conditions, but they also build their own communities.
Yes.
They also people that go to work, they have their children. So sometimes this images that people build from territories that are normally marginalized,
Exactly,
it's very detrimental for people that come and visit the country or visit the city. They don't understand the dynamics, and then they don't go there, they don't connect. So you were lucky to connect, and especially with someone like Vitor and knowing his brand and all of this. So I just wanted to, talking about this, for you guys to compare your experiences living abroad in some other country. I'm asking this because when we were trying to set up this interview, you were always traveling. And I was maybe they've been to other places.
Yeah,
I don't know
definitely.
if they stayed there, living like you're doing here in Portugal. But I wanted you to compare the experience that you, of course, years have gone by, but if one of you wants to compare.
Yeah, we both actually have lived abroad before. So I lived in Thailand for almost 2 years, and I was always a foreign. To them, I was always going to be a foreigner. I was never going to assimilate into the culture. I was always going to be an other. So it was really important for me to find the next place that I lived, to see people that look like me. I wanted to make it my home. So my sister was like, you would love Lisbon, Portugal. Like, there's Black people there. It's close to the U.S. and you'll be able to blend in. So my experience before abroad was just always being a foreigner, and always feeling like an other. Even though I enjoyed Thailand, I enjoyed the food, the weather, the people are super friendly. But ultimately, I wanted to find a place where it would feel like home. So in comparison, Portugal feels more like home.
Okay. What about you, Heather?
For me, I lived in Japan and I lived in Mexico. Japan will always be my favorite country, but I feel that I did not necessarily feel at home. And it could have been because I was stationed there. It's a little bit different dynamics.
Stationed?
But, I was in the military, yes, in Yokosuka for 2 years. But when I lived in Mexico, I loved the community there. It was thriving. I had my mom group and my daughter. You know, we all did things. We went away. We did a ton of things. And I knew Mexico was not going to be my forever home. And, you know, when I came to Portugal, I needed that community that I saw did not exist already. And although I could not replicate everything, you know, that I experienced and like the feeling of home in Mexico, I do feel like the community here feels more like home than it did in Mexico. And not to take away from that community, it was a great community. There's always something happening. But I feel that I know I'm going to be in Portugal for a longer period of time than I was going to be in Mexico. So yeah, it's just one of those things where you have to adjust and, you know, get outside your comfort zone and do things that you normally would not have done in the US. And I think about my relationships back in the US and the community that I had there. And I feel that although I did have a great community as far as, excuse me, as far as, you know, the veteran and military community was great, but as far as a community where I can rely on anyone for anything, I did not have in the United States at all. Like and I do here.
You feel that you do here?
1,000%, yes.
Because most people are from the US, or more people are from the US. Here it's easier to connect here.
No, I think it's the mindset. Your mindset shifts when you leave a toxic environment and you want a better quality of life, a peace of mind. You know, genuinely want to get to know people. And in the US, I kind of feel that friendships are more disposable. You know, if you have a disagreement, that's it, you know, or it's just people are feeding off of negativity and the things that are happening in the US. And here, you know, for me, I don't have those worries, you know, about gun violence or robberies or, you know, getting shot or anything like that. So the mindset definitely shifts. And I feel like the drama and the toxic behavior is left in the US when some people move abroad.
Yeah, there's a lot of unlearning that comes from moving abroad. And even speaking of like friendships, I think people are more intentional. Like I meet with my friends throughout the week, whereas in the US, it's kind of like you just hang out on the weekends. Here, it's like you make time for the people that you care about. You'll go to the park on a Wednesday and get an espresso with your friends. So the relationships, in my experience, have been richer and deeper being here in Portugal.
So interesting. I was listening to you. It sounded a bit like when we went into the pandemic, where everybody was so much more intentional. They were looking for people. Every contact was a contact to keep in that period. I also lived abroad, and I had a sense in the beginning, of course, but then it shifted again. So when you were describing this, I was feeling the feelings.
Yeah.
But you've been here for, at least you, Heather, for more than 2010?
Oh, no. I came in 2010, but I didn't move here until 2021.
Oh, okay. So
almost 2 years.
So you're still in the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, we moved around the same time, so we've been here.
Yeah.
Almost
2 years.
Almost 2 years, yeah.
Do you think that traveling, we know that traveling for Black people is different, but do you think that traveling might also be a resource for us when we want to have more freedom in aspects of when we talk about racism? Because racism affects us in different ways in different territories.
Yeah.
When it's in our own country, it's much more aggressive.
Yeah.
When it's in some other territory, maybe you can tolerate, not tolerate it, but you can navigate it in a different way.
Yes, I agree.
Would you also talk about this experience for you?
Yeah. I think there's layers to it, honestly, because there's a certain privilege that comes from having certain passports. So maybe somebody's going to be more xenophobic if you have a certain passport. And when I'm traveling abroad, obviously I have dealt with racism, but not to the same level as being in the US, because if people hear my accent, maybe they're like, oh, this is a tourist, this is an American. Like they're thinking certain things, whereas in the US, it doesn't matter where you're from. If you're Black, you're Black. You're going to get treated the same. So I do think that there is a level of privilege that comes from having certain passports, maybe European passports or American passports, when you're traveling abroad.
And good that you mentioned this point of the right passport, the wrong passport. There is no such thing, but yeah, it happens. And this makes me think about the question of the need to have this differentiated, the expat and the immigrant. We oftentimes listen to this discrimination of the term. And is it necessary, would you say? How can we go around this? Or if it's necessary
I have my thoughts on it. Like, personally, I don't like the term expat for the reasons that you mentioned, because I think it differentiates people. Like, it others people. Like, if you are from one country, you're considered an immigrant. But if you're from the US or the UK, you're considered an expat. And that's not fair, especially if you're moving to a country to create roots there and you have residency and you're working towards citizenship, you're an immigrant.
Yeah, this discussion around these two terms is also led in context of racial discrimination, of course, because we know that immigrants are normally non-white people that we call immigrants, and expats are normally people that are racialized. And I don't really understand why this difference is made, but I think that we as Black people, we need to observe the discussion that sometimes goes around it, because some of us want to reclaim that, and I found it interesting that you said I don't like the term expat, but some Black people want to claim this this term as well as theirs, to say, from the moment that I have this class, this passport, so it also has to do with racial equality. The fact that we can share the same term in the same conditions. What are the conditions? No, probably how much money do you make? From which family do you come? You have access to traveling all over the world. This things,
job and everything.
A good job. You go and have a good job. So some Black people want to claim this as theirs as well. You know? And I found it interesting that you said, no, I don't like this term. This is like...
Yeah, I personally don't consider myself an expat because I'm working towards citizenship. Like, I'm here for a long time. But I do understand what you mean about people reclaiming it and using it as a tool to be empowered that they're moving abroad. So I do see that perspective as well.
An immigrant kind of has a lesser value to it. I kind of think about, this is American history, all the immigrants that came to Ellis Island from all the different countries, and then, they were poor, and then they came, and then they started up little micro communities like Little Italy or Chinatown, and that's when I think of immigrant. It automatically refers back to what I was taught in the U.S., and I feel like growing up in the U.S., expat really wasn't a word at all that we ever I never learned that.
It's a newish word, I would say.
Yeah.
But for some, they might just relate to immigrant as someone of lesser class, someone that's poor, someone that's, coming to a different country to rebuild. But I feel like that shouldn't take away from, that doesn't make you less of a person because you're coming over to lay roots or you're coming over for whatever reasons. So it's just one of those words that it can go either way depending on who you are. And same thing for expat. It just really depends on, how you view expats, but we're all human. We all have the right to be everywhere.
And mostly, this discussion is very contradictory as well. Yeah. I mean, what is the problem of being an immigrant? And what you just described is the ideas that we associate
being an immigrant.
Yeah, this ideas that try to push us away from the word, which is a word that probably would describe our parents, for instance. So I just launched this discussion, because I don't know which solution it should be, if we should choose one word or the other. But I find it interesting that the idea of being an expat is perceived as exhaling.
Yeah.
But what does this other thing mean that we are, that our parents were? You know, why do we want to run away or deny it? So this is mostly a reflection that I make many times, because I also know many people that travel around. And I think that, and I would like to have your thoughts on that, I think that the freedom to travel as a Black person to other countries, to other territories, is something like a relief. Because you get to experience your humanity, your possibilities in different ways in different countries. And I don't know if you share these thoughts. That's why. If you traveling as a Black person is also a way of expanding your possibilities of expressing your humanity, of being who you are.
I think it does. You know, traveling opens up many doors, and I'm not speaking of like employment doors. I'm talking about doors within your mind that you never thought could exist. Experiencing different culture. You know, growing up, I only thought rich people could travel outside the U.S. You know, none of my friends really traveled unless they were from different countries and they went home for several weeks at a time. We travel within the U.S. You know, but now that after I joined the Navy, and then I just saw, you know, how accessible traveling is and how affordable it is. And I was just like, wow, you know, all the experiences, things, you know, and Lisbon was my first port, by the way. And I'm just like, wow, these people are living different. You know, people are non-materialistic. You know, they don't have to have the newest, the flashiest, anything, you know, just having a roof over their head, a job and clothes on their backs and food in their stomach. Like, it's good, you know. Also experiencing different foods and understanding the culture to a certain degree while traveling. And it really, you know, makes you, it's kind of addicting in a sense.
It definitely
is. And it makes you want more. And then two things for me, what traveling did was improve my mental health. You know, being in the US is a very traumatic experience, which I do feel that a lot of people that are not from the US, at least here, I feel the conversations I've had, a lot of people want to go to the US. And when I'm telling them these, you know, stories like what's going on, they're in like disbelief and they're just like, what? Where? You know, and although America, I do still feel is a land of opportunity for someone's mental health, it's not quite there as far as, it's just a lot going on within the Black community with the mental health and the injustice and the killings and so much going on, but also health-wise too. You know, I have autoimmune issues, and I noticed when I traveled, my health was better than it was in the US. You know, still same symptoms, but less elevated, less stress, you know, access to fresher foods, better foods, and just a quality of life that, you know, some people just don't get in the US. And that's why they're traveling, you know, long-term, all over the world, staying in places for weeks or months at a time.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I would say traveling is liberating in many ways. One example I can think of is my grandmother wasn't able to travel because she had 6 kids and it was her dream. So for me to be able to live out my grandmother's dream is liberating for me. And then also free to express and be myself. When I was in Thailand, I overcame a lot of fears and started doing open mic nights or like pushing myself to do things because I'm like, these people don't even know me and they're not going to judge me. You know, in the US, I had a lot of fear and anxiety around being judged. I felt a lot of tension in my everyday life with encounters with people. And I think abroad, people have more of an open mind and a willingness to like connect with different types of people. So that's what I really enjoy about traveling. And then it's also a teacher for me. So when I'm going to different countries, I'm going to museums or I'm talking to different people and learning about the history of that country that I wouldn't have learned from a US textbook because they're only telling us a little bit. I went to Vietnam and I learned more about the war that I didn't even learn in school or I couldn't even find on the internet because people are actually telling their experiences and how it's impacted them. So I would say it's very liberating. It's a teacher and it's a way to also rediscover who you are.
And build community.
Yeah, build community. Yes, definitely.
Right here, because in your group, there are also people from other countries, because I saw some, I think, Nigeria. And which nationalities you have there, more or less, if you remember?
So Nigeria, Tanzania, Zimbabwe,
South Africa,
Mozambique,
Togo.
UK, Togo. Those are just the ones I can think on the top of my head.
Yes.
What was the biggest challenge, to manage, not manage, but, like to build community with all these different countries, people from these different countries?
Oh, man. I think the idea to build community is there, but sometimes with different cultural aspects and views, it can be a little bit difficult if we feel that we're doing one thing that's including everyone. It may not be something that people from other countries are like, this, we don't see it that way. This doesn't really include us. So we really are trying to take feedback and really expand and really try to not cater to everyone because we can't appease everyone, but just really expand what we're trying to do to include everyone that is able to join in or wants to, do events or wants to present anything from their culture. So really being mindful and listening to the community so we can do better than the day before. Definitely. But yes, it is, I've never built a community before coming here. So it's all brand new to me and Cam and a lot of lessons learned and a lot of trial and error. But I think us wanting to listen and taking feedback and being open has really helped us, move forward and progress. And it's it's a work in progress. And also here, the language barrier is it is somewhat difficult in some ways, but I think important is, us trying to understand the language. I show up to events and I don't understand the language, but I'm still there listening to the dialect. And I feel like these type of settings for me help me better pronounce words correctly. And also what else? And then people think, well, at least they think I'm Portuguese. They think you're Portuguese too.
And I love that. Like, I love it. I feel bad that I can't fully answer the questions that I'm asked, but I do love the fact that people
automatically.
So like, oh, I thought you were Portuguese when, we're stumbling or I say a word with not the right sounding. Like, oh, I thought you were Portuguese. I'm just like, no. I'm American,
But there are a lot of different cultures within our community. And I think one of the opportunities or the lessons that we've learned is like the way that we've showed up in our previous communities in the States, it looks different. Yeah. For example, a universal thing that many African Americans do is they do like and that's not a thing in every community. No. And then, some people are coming from homogenous countries where they are the majority. So it's more about nationality than it is about race because everybody is the same race, essentially. That's also been an opportunity for us to learn how to not necessarily project our own culture or ways onto other people. Yeah,
it's good sharing access to other cultural aspects. It's important. And what was the most, maybe this was it, but I'm going to ask, the most rewarding, what was the most rewarding experience through this community?
I think seeing people connect and then people saying, hey, I went to an event or you connected me with someone and now we're traveling together. Seeing people really build connections, seeing people advance in their own personal goals or employment, because we don't know what everyone's profession is. We don't know who has connections to who. We just know that we're connecting two people or a group of people together and it's, the sky's the limit after that connection, So I think that's really rewarding. It's just a really good feeling knowing that we're able to provide something where a safe community, a place where people can thrive, a shoulder to lean on, supporting local businesses. There's just so much that we're building here. And it's just a good feeling knowing that we're able to, other people can call this home.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy working with other Black entrepreneurs and Black businesses, and then us coming together to create an amazing event, and just seeing like the turnout. There's a lot of steps and a lot of behind the scenes things that happen, but just to see things come to fruition has been really rewarding.
So it's very good to know about this group and the opportunities that people have, but sometimes we don't really know if everybody can join in. I mean, you said that many other nationalities have connected with you, but who can join in? How can I join in Black in Portugal?
Yes, so we have a Facebook group and our audience is the Black community, but when we host events, it's for everyone. Anyone can show up. It does not matter where you're from, what you look like. We are really trying to build community. And, we have an Instagram page and a Facebook group and a website too.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Heather. Thank you, Cam, for being here. It was very interesting to know about your group. And thank you for listening to our video cast. My name is Kamra Clemons. See you next time.